maybe it's in the world too. Maybe this is just my own little microcosm, but I have noticed that Christians, sometimes we sort of convince ourselves that we're working or doing stuff that's valuable, but we're really not. And I think that sometimes we like to sort of make spirituality look like good hard work. And I think that that's actually a really bad testimony sometimes. I remember being on a construction job with my dad, and there were a couple Christian guys, and they knew my dad was a Christian. And so they would stand around and start fellowshipping, talking about the word. And they had this attitude sort of like, well, we're talking about the Bible, so that's more important than our, hanging this sheetrock right now. And I remember how my dad handled that. My dad walked up, and he never got mad, but there was a certain weightiness, and you kind of knew you just didn't really want to mess with him. But my dad I remember one afternoon these guys were talking, and he'd already warned them, once, no, you're here to work, you're not here to fellowship, But they were talking about the word, just standing there, and there's other guys working, and my dad said, guys, there's a cafe just up the hill here, just like a quarter of a mile up here. Why don't you guys go ahead and put your nail bags on the ground there, and you guys, why don't you go up to the cafe and fellowship? And they looked at each other and like, really? I said, yep. And by the way, you can collect your paycheck at the end of the day, but that'll be your last one for the day. Like he fired him on the spot. Told him, yeah, go fellowship up at the cafe. But we're Christians, we're brothers in Christ, Todd Metter. But my dad knew that was one of the worst testimonies, the worst witnesses a Christian can be is a lazy sluggard at the job site. The best witness you can be is to be really good at what you do. And then after work, you can fellowship or talk or whatever. But I've noticed that there's this thing in Christianity over the years that I've observed where we Christians sometimes in the name of spirituality get sort of lazy, but it's never really what we're called to be. I love how, Jesus was always busy doing the Father's business, and he wasn't just lazing around, but it seemed that he was very methodical about what he did. But it says of Jesus, he doeth all things well. There was nothing that thought Jesus was lazy, but he does all things well. May that be true of all of us in our jobs, in our workplaces, that maybe first and foremost we're seen and not just heard. First of all, seen, then heard about our faith and our Christianity. Your witness will be so much better if you're really good at what you do.